Welcome, everyone. Another episode of Past the 40. Today's guest is Lora Newton. Lora, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well, Chris. How are you?
I am excellent. Lovely day here in New York. Where are you calling us from?
I'm in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
OKC, home of the Thunder, and maybe something else. I'm not sure what else beyond Oklahoma City Thunder. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Yep. Did you hear that Nick Collison retired yesterday?
I did. Is that big local news there?
Yeah, it is. There was billboards this morning. I mean, it was just announced yesterday, and there was a billboard. I was driving through downtown this morning, and it was up there, and it was a picture of him, and then it just said Nick, period. That was it.
He's an OKC lifer.
Yeah.
Good job. How are you feeling about your 40 questions today?
Good. Let's do it.
And you are actually not 40 yet. You're a baby of the podcast. When is your birthday?
Tuesday, yes.
Tuesday. All right. So about 4 or 5 days left in the 30s.
Yeah. I'm trying to check off all those last minute 30 things I needed to do.
Good luck. Got to bang them out.
Yeah.
Ready to rock here?
Yep. Let's go.
All right. You mentioned that you were previously a pilot, and I need some more info on this. Fighter pilot like Top Gun or commercial airlines, and how old were you when you were flying planes?
So probably like my mid-20s, I went through another change in my life where I was putting some things together. I've always wanted to fly planes. My grandfathers were both in the Air Force, and we lived right by Tinker Air Force Base. So my childhood was spent watching my dad watch airplanes in the sky. All of my home movies from back then, he would be filming us, and all of a sudden you'd cut to the sky and we would watch F-16s go over. And so one day, I was 24 and I had this blank slate in front of me. Like, what do you want to do now with your life? And my dad had bought me a gift certificate to go up and fly a single engine Cessna. He bought one for me and one for my brother. It was for Christmas. And he said, it's just kind of, they take you up, you get to fly a little bit. And I fell in love with it. I was like, I have to do this again. Like, where do I get these drugs? And, it's very expensive to do. I think each flight was around $250.
Okay.
But I loved it. And I actually got really close to getting my license. And then I got pregnant with my son and I stopped going because it was making me very sick to my stomach. But I've soloed. I've got several solo hours. I have, in just a single engine Cessna. And my brother has his license now. It took him a little bit longer. He didn't immediately get to take off and do it, but he just got his license 4 months ago.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
My grandpa used to always say, out of all of my 24 grandsons, my granddaughter was the only one that got her license. So that was really funny.
Your grandfather has 24 grandchildren?
Probably more than that. I mean, I really kind of lost track, but I was the second oldest
right.
of a lot of boys for a long time. I think the next female below me is probably 6 to 7 years younger than I am. So yeah, they had a farm.
It's a big family out there.
Yes, it is.
While we're talking about things from the past, you said you were also an artist. What kind of art, and at what point in your life was that?
Always. That was always. So, and I put that down as previous, and I'm really kind of beating myself up for it lately. I have always been an artist, and I will always be an artist, and that's kind of part of what's going on in my life right now is realizing that, raising kids, I have 3 of them. They didn't know me when I did all that stuff. I stopped flying when I got pregnant with my oldest. And I always used to say, mom used to do this or mom used to do that. I lost a lot of myself the last several years. And so I've started painting again. I just took one of my latest paintings to its place yesterday and put it up on the wall. So that was exciting. Been painting. I painted this one a while back. So I don't think I ever really stopped. I probably shouldn't say previous because I never stopped. It's always been there. I just took a break a couple of times.
So yeah, the artist gene is like something that doesn't go away in us creative types. So this is something that you plan to continue pursuing or doing or being a part of your life.
I do. I feel like as a creative type, I think we're wired to have that outlet for whatever goes on in our lives. And that's happened to me several times. I've had to you know, pour out everything that I've got going on inside as a way to unload and let it go. Whether it's through art or music. And I have some really important pieces of art in my life that I've held on to. One of them in particular, my mom ended up buying at an art show because she knew I loved it. And she has it now. And someday maybe I'll imagine I'll get it back. But, it's hard to let them go. It's hard to let paintings go. I can't keep them all. I try to keep some of them, but I can't keep them all. So you got to keep creating and keep letting go.
What is something that hangs on the wall in your home besides what we can see for those of us watching the video?
Besides this one,
what else do you got?
I have this one, and then I have a huge black and white Union Jack that I painted, and it's upstairs in the game room. I painted that one with my husband. We worked together on it. He's from England, and we wanted a piece. He loves the Union Jack, so we did that. I'll probably lose that in the separation, but it'll go with him.
If you could give a TED Talk on any subject, what would that be?
Not losing yourself, I guess. Protecting who you are. I think it's really important for, I think people my age, they reach middle age and they either go through a midlife crisis and I don't like to call it a crisis. I'm not, it's not an emergency, but it's a change in my life where I realize I just woke up and I realize I've lost who I am. I put down that I was a previous person of all these. I don't want to ever be a previous good thing, I'd like to shed some bad habits, but, I think it's important. I have 3 kids and 2 of them are girls. So, as a mother and a woman, they're looking to me on how to raise, how to be a person. And I think it's important that they look at me as a person who has an identity, not just this person who cleans house and makes food. And I mean, not to say that there's anything wrong with the people who love doing that. I mean, there are people that love to be a housewife and they do it well. I'm not the best cook and I don't like to clean the house, but what I do is my own thing. And I think it's important to show them how to not lose yourself when things in your life change. You can still change and you can still keep who you are through all of that. And it's very hard. It's very hard to not let everything that you hold in yourself go away so that you can take care of some other things.
And so one of the things that you wrote in your 5 headlines that you're, quote, rebuilding your life or rebuilding life at 40. So is that what that means to you? Just kind of getting back to yourself?
It is, absolutely. Going through a separation and realizing that, the next, I imagine that this is the middle of my life. It used to be 50, but, not very many people live to 100. But I imagine if I lived to my 70s or 80s, that this would be the middle of my life. And I don't want to regret any more days.
So what are you most excited about right now in terms of getting back to stuff?
Everything. I have a really awesome new plan. It's not fail proof or, it's not permanent plan, but I've just switched brokerages in my business and I moved back to an office that's downtown and I absolutely love that. I love being back downtown. I also am just, painting again, getting everything back in order, finding, rebuilding that relationship with myself. That's, I think, the most important relationship everybody should have is with themselves. And that's what I'm working on right now.
Very good. Very cool. Let's say you have to go on a road trip from Oklahoma City to Wyoming and you have to bring 3 people with you. Who's in the car and not family members?
So I did that road trip in reverse, but a little bit longer. I drove from Edmonton, Canada to Oklahoma City with a friend of mine and her cat. Okay. I love you, Mel, but I'm not going to take you and your cat again. It's a very boring drive, a lot of flat land, some mountains in Colorado, but I would take like James Corden um, for the carpool karaoke, and Kevin Hart, and probably Sarah Silverman or Leslie Mann if Sarah's not available. Take Leslie Mann.
So that must have been a really boring trip because you're going strictly for fun in the ride, inside the
Yeah.
car, as much fun as possible.
I
That's the
mean, you
goal.
should do everything in your life with as much fun as possible. It's life is too short to be boring. And I mean, I would imagine that Kevin Hart and James Corden could probably have some serious conversations as well, and those would probably be interesting. I know Sarah can. She gets very serious and political sometimes, but
For sure.
so yeah, that would be my trio. I think it would be fun, and we could also probably have some pretty legit conversations.
Right. So I assume you and James Corden are sitting in the front, and what's going to be
Oh yeah.
your go to karaoke song?
Annie Lennox's "Sweet Dreams" has always been my go-to karaoke song. Um, Sung in many drunken nights. There's a lot of people that probably would laugh at remembering that, or probably didn't want to ever remember it again. But
Right.
you know,
Never
there
want to hear
you
that
are.
song again.
Yeah.
If I spoke to your best friend, whoever that may be, and how would he or she fill in the following sentence? I love Laura. She's the best, but I wish she were a little bit more what?
Probably available. I have two best friends in my life, the top two, male and a female. Melody is my ultimate best friend. She lives in Spokane, Washington. She just moved a couple months ago, and then she now in the summer times works at Great Glacier National Park. I can't remember the name. And then I have another friend, David, who lives I call him David in Dallas. I met him when I lived in Dallas for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And so both of them I always have to talk to on the phone and or email. It would be good to see them.
So I'm guessing that Mel is the Mel from the cat in the in the car ride. So she's
Yes.
best friend, but not the best car ride companion.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, we had a good time. We listened to some old school music. But by the time we reached Kansas, we were pretty much just staring out the window. Like, okay, we've exhausted all our conversation. But
Right.
best friend in the fact that she can call me and tell me, hey, I'm moving from Canada this weekend. Can you ride with me? And I buy a plane
You're there.
ticket, and I'm there. And her mom was in the hospital last week, and I hadn't talked to her in probably a couple months. And she called me up and said, hey, can you go get me flowers? They're closed today. And I need to send them to the hospital to my mom. So I did it. I dropped everything I was doing and made it happen. That's what friends do.
For sure. So Mel or David, if they were to describe you in 3 words, what would those adjectives be?
David did. I couldn't reach Mel. She's not in cell range. But David said independent, artistic, and adventurous.
Independent, artistic, and adventurous. All right.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. What if there was a 40-year-old friend of yours was coming to Oklahoma City for one night? Where would you take them out to show a great night and what that city is all about?
Well, definitely anywhere downtown. We would probably go all over. Oklahoma City in the last 20 years has really blown up. Everything is so different. Right after high school, college, and I went to Dallas because that's where the happening place was. We always used to call Dallas downtown because Oklahoma City was so lame and boring. So if you wanted to go downtown, you just went to Dallas. And so I moved there. And when I came back, the oil companies had dumped a bunch of money into a lot of different areas. And so nightlife downtown is amazing right now. You could literally just walk around hot bars, go to a Thunder game. You can even whitewater raft now. We have a simulated whitewater rafting. So there's plenty to do downtown.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
All of them, except for this one. Let me rephrase. I love my job now. I have been in all different types of jobs. My very first job, I spent a day in fast food when I was 16.
Okay.
And I absolutely hated it. I got in trouble for something that wasn't even my fault.
What fast food establishment was this?
Arby's.
Arby's.
I mean, it's the high class of fast food,
Of
right?
course.
I mean, it's
Get a nice roast beef sandwich.
yeah. It's the the classy fast food. So I didn't last very long at that at all. And I said, that's the last time I'm ever doing that. I did wait tables a little while. I don't mind waiting tables. I'm not going to do it now when I'm 40, but I didn't mind it then. But then I've been a manager, a sales manager. When I was 18, I led a top producing sales manager room or office for a computer company here in Oklahoma City, and I really enjoyed that. But at the same time, I always had somebody above me, and I don't know, I like confinement.
No rules.
No rules, no boundaries.
Who should play you in a movie about your life?
David always thought that Emma Stone reminded him of me. We don't look anything alike, obviously. I do not look like Emma Stone, but in personality-wise, he always said her character kind of reminds. So I guess that would be a good one. And she's like 20 years younger than me too, so that would be good. she could make me look younger.
That's a good one though. She's like relatable, funny, cute. She's got a whole thing going. Now that you have an experience as a parent, you have 3 kids. What is something that your parents did really well when you think back?
You know, they absolutely supported everything I've ever wanted to do. They've had questions, but I think, you know, as parents, we make a lot of mistakes raising children, and I think we try really hard not to make mistakes so that they don't, you know, have to spend their college tuition on therapy. But at the end of the day, I think the best thing that you can ever give your kids is to let them know that you love them. And my parents got divorced when I was 11, and it was hard. It was rough. It was ugly. And, you know, everybody made mistakes. I made mistakes as a teenager as well. So I think without a doubt, looking back, the best part of my childhood was just knowing that I was loved and supported. You know, you want to be a pilot? Here, let me help you do that. You want to be an artist? Let me buy the paintings in your art gallery. You want to, you know, move to Dallas? All right, we will all forget your birthday, which they did. The first birthday I had in Dallas, every single one of my family members forgot.
Nice.
And yeah, but it was good. The next day, my phone was blowing up, and I got apologies and flowers and all kinds of cool stuff. So
of course. What is, fill in the blank? I'm not as blank as I used to be.
Flexible and healthy. Yeah, so I had my first hip surgery a couple years ago. I didn't even make it to 40.
Uh-oh.
Didn't make it to 40 before I had to have hip surgery. They had to go in and clean out my socket and all of that so I could move. So I can't do all the yoga I wanted to do, which I need to try to start back into it. I need to run. I'm so not healthy. I couldn't even get up the stairs if you asked me to. I'd get up there and I'd pass out.
Well, in 5 days when you turn 40, then you have to start taking that seriously. Right,
yeah.
What's the best piece of advice or a great piece of advice that you were given that sticks with you?
You know, I don't think people like giving me advice. Maybe I just don't look like I need help. I have a good poker face. But somebody did tell me one time, because when I walk, and especially when I walk downtown, I worked downtown for a few years in my 30s and late 20s, and I always look at the ground. And somebody said, you know what, you need to look up more, you know, look forward, not down. You always walk with your head down. And I don't know why I started doing that. I don't know I'm really tall. So I guess I always just kind of like, tall people tend to lower themselves. I don't know. But so the other day I was walking around downtown. I had to go to the bank. It's supposed to be next door. And I forgot that they moved it like 6 blocks, but I really needed to go to the bank, and I didn't want to get in the car because there's no parking where it was. So I walked and I had my headphones in, and I was walking along. I had my head down, and that just like stuck out in my head. I was like, you know what? I need to look up and look around more. And I did. And it was the most fascinating walk I've had in a long time, because I actually paid attention to what was going on around me.
Do you find yourself doing that more often now? Like, did that stick with you?
My posture's getting better because of it.
How tall are you?
5'9.5", I guess, almost 5'10". But I always wear heels, so.
So like 7 feet, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's your favorite movie? Favorite comedy ever?
Oh, comedy ever. I I really, and this is weird, but I really like Napoleon Dynamite because it was a breakthrough comedy. It kind of did something that nobody had ever done before. And I like that they set it back in an era that kind of the 80s-ish, not early 90s. So I could totally relate, but it was hilarious. And nobody's ever done anything like that since. I don't like really stupid comedy, and I don't like comedy that, like, I don't know, dirty comedy. So that was just the right amount of comedy for me. I liked it. Very dry.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Um, I laughed when I was listening to Jay Serrano's, am I saying his name right?
Ciano.
Cian. Okay, sorry. When I was listening to his podcast, because he said, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and he got way further than I did. But that's what I wanted to do, and still do. I still want to live on a boat and be in the ocean. If you ever were to approach me and say, hey, Laura, let's go to the ocean right now, I would drop everything I was doing. In fact, I think it was like 2 Mother's Days ago, however you say that. My husband had said, so what do you want to do for Mother's Day? And I said, I want to go to the ocean. And he said, all right, kids, let's pack up the car. And we drove to Port Aransas, spent the day. And that's a long drive from Oklahoma City. It's 10 hours.
The idea that even one person out of the many that I've interviewed wanted to be a marine biologist, but two actually, that was their thing is astonishing.
Yeah, I still would. I'm trying to get my son to be a marine biologist. He didn't want to do the schooling for it, but I've told him instead of paying for your college, which his dad will do, but I said, I'll buy you a boat and you can go live on a boat if that's what you want to do. So I will meet him in the Bahamas.
Right. Do you have a celebrity crush?
I do, actually. I have a few. I have a list.
What do you got?
Well, so everyone gives me a hard time because I am a huge John Cusack fan. And he's aging pretty well, in my opinion. Maybe not everybody's opinion, but still like him just as much as I did, years ago when we were both younger. But if Clive Owen walked through that door, I would totally drop John Cusack. And then Scott Speedman, he was on Felicity, which was a big show in my early 20s about college life. Mm-hmm. But he also did Underworld with Kate. No, that wasn't Kate Beckinsale. I forget who it was. But anyway, he's like got that one of those smiles that just makes you like, all right.
We'll stop it at 3 because I feel like this list might continue on and on.
It could go on. It could go on. Those are my tops.
If you could have a drink with a fictional character, who would it be?
The Perfect Person, which doesn't exist, so that is fictional. But I think everybody always wonders what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix in my life? Which I think is not healthy. But when I consider sitting down and having a drink with somebody, you usually talk about, your challenges in your life. And I imagine the perfect person would have all those answers. So occasionally I would like to go and have a drink with the perfect person to get some tips.
That's interesting that you approached it that way by like creating your own fictional character. The obvious answer is usually like a TV character, someone from a book and literature or something like that. You just made up a person. I like that.
I don't pay a lot of attention to, like, I don't read a lot of fiction books. Mm-hmm. I read a lot of, I'm always learning. I don't know why. I loved college. I would be a college student for the rest of my life if I could. I love going to classes. I'm almost always booking my schedule with classes that I need to take to be a better person. To me, that is very important. Going through life is you can't always pretend that you know everything, and you can't always pretend that you have it all figured out. And I live my day every day I wake up, what am I going to learn today? What is going to challenge me today? And will I go to bed smarter than I woke up? I'm hoping I will. I hope every day I am. But I mean, there's an occasional day when I will stay home in my pajamas and watch Netflix. I mean, don't get me wrong.
And you probably learned something from the
And I do,
documentary or
right?
the
I
TV that you
do.
watched.
I do.
What's a piece of advice that you would give to your 20-year-old self?
Oh God, honey, get out of the bar. Go. Get on, find the nearest airport, spend whatever money it is you have in your account that you were going to spend on drinking and go somewhere. In my 20s, flights were so cheap.
Hmm.
That was, well, it was right around the cusp of 9/11. That happened when I was 24, but when I was in my early 20s, you could get a flight, especially on Southwest from here, you could go to Vegas for like $50.
Wow.
And I do clearly remember there was a guy that we used to hang out with at the bar in my 20s who would do that sometimes. He would just be sitting there and go, all right. I mean, he had money. He was like, who wants to go to Vegas? I was a single mom at that point in time in my life, so I was like, well, I can't. But they would go hop on a plane and go to Vegas.
What is something that you're curious about right now?
I'm really curious how someone goes 40 years in their life without drinking coffee. I don't understand that.
Who do you know that might have done that?
Chris Heller, can you explain to me how I've never had a cup of coffee?
Yeah, so I know that I don't like it because I don't like coffee ice cream or tiramisu or like some of those coffee caramel things. Just
Okay, but
the smell and taste
coffee.
of coffee, just like is a no-no for me. I don't really
So you have actually tasted it.
I mean, I must have. I mean, I've tasted it in some form. I've tasted coffee flavor. I don't know if
That's
I've
not
ever
true.
had like a sip of coffee. I'm sure somebody's given me a sip of like an iced coffee with a lot of milk and sugar, trying to get me like to be like, oh, see, it's like a sweet
Like
drink.
sneak it in.
Yeah,
Like,
but it still doesn't work for me. And then on top of that, like I think it's a drug, and people are like just attached to it too much and depend on it. And I don't really do caffeine or any of those energy things. Like I'm just not
yeah,
in that game. So even if I did like the taste, the whole like relationship that people have with their coffee is like just negative to me.
right. I see. I get that. It's funny. Like my husband doesn't drink coffee either, and he used to always say, "Oh, I don't need addictions in my life." I'm not addicted to coffee in the sense of a caffeine. I cannot have caffeine anymore, so I drink decaf. And caffeine raises my blood pressure. It makes me crazy, and then I get homicidal, and nobody wants any part of that. But I love the taste of coffee, and I grew up around black coffee. I mean, everybody. I mean, my mom put a little bit of sugar in her coffee, but I have early memories of going to my grandmother's house. My grandparents were divorced, so on that side. But I have early memories of going over to my grandmother's house, and everybody, all the adults would be around the table drinking coffee, and us kids would be running around. So it was a very social thing. And my grandpa owned a tax service. He was an accountant. And we would stop by there, and everybody would be around the table at break time drinking coffee. And it was always black, very black coffee. And so I started drinking coffee when I was a teenager. And just love it. Like, and I go through phases of having it black, or today I had a latte and it was really bad. Sorry. I was just like, oh, I just felt I hadn't eaten, and I actually realized still haven't eaten today. So I was like, oh, I'll get all my calories in a drink. Let me get a latte. It was all right. It wasn't bad, but
That doesn't sound like the right healthy approach.
Shouldn't do that.
Who comes to mind when you think of the word successful?
The people that I am around, especially right now in my office, like I said, I had just switched brokerages, and I'm extremely inspired by my new broker, Sarah. She's amazing. To listen to her story and her climb and her work that she's done. She's one of the fastest growing brokerages in Oklahoma City right now. They're only 5 years old, but I heard a quote one time that said, if you are the smartest person in the world, or I'm sorry, if you're the smartest person in the room that you're in, you are in the wrong room. going back to constantly learning, I have to surround myself around people who not only are smart, but also willing to learn and willing to explain things to you. And Sarah loves doing it. She loves teaching people what she does. And it's just an amazing feeling. I'm kind of floating on a high about it right now because I'm getting everything done and recharged, and it's just a good place to rebuild your life, I guess.
What's something that you've tried that you will never try again?
Water skiing,
How come?
because that's just nuts. Okay, first of all, I'm a tiny person. I mean, I'm tall, but I'm tiny. And I don't have the arm strength to hold on. And when you crash, and you're going to most of the time, everything just goes crazy. Like and then you're sitting out there in the middle of the water, hoping that they can come back before something eats you. And that is just not at all, none of it, not from the start to the end. None of it has anything to do with fun to me. But I like the water. I mean, obviously, I'll swim in the ocean, but
For sure.
not on skis.
Some people swear by water skiing and love it. Well, when was the last time you tried it?
Like when I was a teenager, I think. We grew up at the lake. My dad's side of the family, they all had land at the lake and boats and all that stuff. So everybody water skied. And so I'm pretty sure it was my Uncle Melvin, the loud, rowdy one, who convinced me that I should get on skis. And it did not go well at all. And I think I did try. I like to tube. I will tube with my kids. But I tried it again, and I want to say in my adult life, and it also equally, I think I lost some parts to my bathing suit, and it was just not fun. I was like, this is just not cool.
That sounds like such an Uncle Melvin thing to do, to just get you out on the water.
Yes. He was definitely never took no for an answer. You got to have fun. Have fun or get out of the boat.
Well, this would be fun. If you won the lottery tomorrow, what are 3 things that you know you would do with the money?
Buy a boat, buy an airplane, and buy some real estate that could keep funding all of my expensive adventures. And I would go, I would anchor myself probably in Florida, and then I would probably just no, I'm not going to pretend that I'd stay in Florida. I would live in the Bahamas or the Caribbean.
We're going to get to that in a little bit, since you mentioned that in your headlines.
Yeah.
If you could have personally witnessed an event in history, where would you have want to have gone or seen?
It's hard to think about what you would want to relive, because a lot of, the first things that come to mind are tragic events. I was very fascinated for the longest time in the Holocaust, but I don't think I'd ever want to relive that. Like, that's just horrible. So I think, if I think of something that I'd like to actually go back and relive, it would probably be like space travel. Either going into space the first time, I would like to actually have gone, or land on the moon for the first time. I think that would have been really fascinating, like nobody's ever done that before moment. I am the path not ever traveled. So I think I would like to, at least at one point in my life, be able to say I did something like that on that scale before everyone else. I mean, I wasn't the first female pilot. I wasn't, and it's really hard these days. I mean, we've come so far as a race now that there's not really much left to do. I mean, I could go to Pluto. Let's try that. But that's not a planet anymore, so I don't know.
Let's see if you can make that happen. You have time.
Try.
What is a skill that you want to acquire in the next 40 years of life, other than being the first person to land on Pluto? If that's even a skill.
I mean, you would have to have a lot of different skills to get to Pluto, I imagine.
Yes.
But I don't know. I really like the skills that I have now. I would really like to hone all of those and be better at those things. But I don't know, skill-wise, I would like to fly a helicopter. Those are tricky. Those are a lot more complicated than planes. So I would do that probably next.
Pretty cool. Is that a thing that's easily accessible down there? Just like you were able to get a gift certificate to hop up in an airplane, you can just go in a helicopter?
Yeah, the airport where I learned to fly is a really good teaching airport. So they do all uh, types of aviation.
Yeah. If you could have any music group or artist alive today play at your birthday party, which is on Tuesday, your 40th birthday, who would you have come and serenade the crowd?
It would be Tori Amos. Did you say alive or?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it would be Tori Amos. She's gotten me through the last 20 years pretty, I am a big believer or not, I guess it's not a belief. Um, I love music, and anything that am going through in my life, I have to immediately find a song. I don't know why. I don't know why that happens, but I'm constantly listening to new music and new things. But Tori Amos, when I was coming out of high school, I was a little different than everybody I went to high school with. I knew that. I was kind of a loner. I did my own thing. I had a couple of really good friends, but somehow I landed upon her CD, and there was just some, I think it was Cornflake Girl. Really, I was like, man, I get it. Like, hey, Tori, you and I see things a little the same. And it's been that way our whole lives. Every time that she has had a CD come out, there's been one or two songs that is like, I almost feel like she's saying, hey, I see what you're doing. So here you go. So I need her to come play at my 40th birthday party and write about all this mess right now.
Right. Is she around our age?
She's in her, I want to say she's in her 50s now.
Yeah, she's older.
Yeah, she's older. And it's funny, my husband, when I met him, he's from England, and we had a hard time adjusting in the beginning because his sense of humor and just the way he is a little different. But she wrote us, and it was literally a couple months after we started dating, she wrote a song called Welcome to England. And the song is about, you've got to bring your own sun. You've got to make happy moments in places that might not be so happy. So,
what is something that you're afraid of?
Confinement. I mean, I guess I'm what you would call a free spirit. My mom laughs she said something to me a while back. She said, you've never been one to follow directions, have you? And she bought me my first sewing machine when I was 7, and she bought me some patterns. I cannot follow a pattern to save my life. I can't follow a pattern, because I crochet too. I cannot follow a pattern when I crochet. I cannot follow a pattern when I am, and I can't read music. I can play the piano. I can read music. I just can't read and play at the same time. When I was in college, I was in composition and theory, and my composition teacher had such a different opinion on my talent than my actual piano lessons teacher. She was like, you can't play any of this stuff I'm giving you. I'm like, because it's not coming out of here. It has to come out of here. And so, but my composition professor was like, man, you're amazing. So keep doing whatever's, turning up in there. But I don't like directions. I don't like GPS. I just let me do my own thing. I'm on my own path.
What's a quirk of yours that few people know about?
I'm not a real quirky person. I don't, I have things like I don't drink milk out of plastic containers. I have to drink them out of glass, but I don't even really like milk in general. But I have to have, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I have to have a song for everything. There's always got to be a song for everything. So even like my kids will be in the kitchen and, they'll drop something. And, my daughter the other day was doing something and I turned it into a song. I was like, well, I don't want to take a bath today. And so, we're constantly singing.
So the song might not, your soundtracks and songs might not necessarily be like, oh, I have to go find a Tori Amos song that fits it. You'll just like freestyle a song right off your head in the moment.
Sometimes, yeah. If I'm in a silly situation, absolutely. But if I am in a more serious way, like recently, going through a divorce and going through what I'm going through, I have had my earphones in nonstop. And I will hear a song and I'll check the lyrics and I'm like, yep, that's it. I'll put that one in my playlist, listen to that some more. And I probably have a good 10, 15 songs that I've never even heard of before. That's why I like Pandora. Everybody's like, oh, you got to get on Spotify. I like Pandora because it just throws it at me. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I like this song, so here's 20 more like it. Pick what you want. So that's been what I've been doing to help me get through what I'm going through right now.
It's amazing how well Pandora can know you in a short
I
period of time.
know. I'm like,
It's crazy.
God, it's scary almost.
If you could relive a single day from your past exactly as it was the first time, what day would you choose to experience all over again?
I would, the first time I solo flew an airplane, absolutely, hands down. So the first time I drove a car by myself, I remember looking over into the seat next to me and thinking, there's nobody there. This is me, like confinement. I mean, obviously I have to obey traffic laws and whatnot, but
Sort of.
it's the most freeing feeling. And so when the first time I had my my very first solo flight, of course, the first one you do, you just stay at the airport. So you just do a flight pattern. And so my instructor is on the radio and my dad's down there and a few other family members. And I get up there and I completely forgot I was flying an airplane. It was just the most amazing, like, release ever. I mean, not only are you doing something that you've never done and you're doing it entirely on your own, but you're also not attached to anything. You know, you're just in the air. The minute those wheels leave the pavement, you're up there, you're on your own. So it was amazing. And I would definitely do that over and over and over again. But it's not, I mean, I guess the first time is the most amazing time. So
You know, one of the things that I did for my 40th birthday last year was fly a plane.
really,
That was on my my big 40 list, and
Yeah.
I took a lesson at an airport or a training place up in like Westchester, like an hour outside of the city, and I went
Okay.
and flew. I guess it was a Cessna. It was like a tiny thing, like me and my pilot next to me, and we
Were
were
the
up
wings
there
up or
flying.
down? Were they on top or the bottom?
The wings,
Yeah.
they were on the side.
Okay.
Aren't all wings on the side of planes?
Well, Cessnas have the wings right on the top, so like the body of the plane's here and the wings are here. But then you have like the Piper, I guess, which the wings
No,
would be
then
like down here.
Cessna.
Okay.
What's something that all 40-year-olds should go and do or try ASAP? A call to action for any 40-year-olds listening.
So I had originally, I'm not even going to go there. I had originally thought that I was going to say, hey, let's all quit coloring our hair and let's just embrace our aging. And because I want to feel better about it. But you know what I did today? I went and I got rid of all the gray in my hair because I could not take it anymore. I absolutely couldn't. But so, hey, for the rest of you though, let's just quit trying to mask it all. I'm going to try really hard. I'm going to go another few months. I'm going to let this wash out and maybe I'll have another relationship with it. But, you know, let's just age. Let's just be who we are.
All right. Well, I'm with you on the no hair coloring thing. I'm good. I'm good there. Back to the boat in the Caribbean. It's one of your dreams. I'm personally scared of being alone at sea. It's like one of the things that I'm like, I don't think I'll ever be there, but it's like one place I just never ever want to be. So a couple questions about this dream scenario of yours. Is anyone on this boat with you? Are you floating through the sea aimlessly? Do you have sailing experience? And like, is the plan to go from like one Caribbean island to another, or like dock and hang out for months at a time? Like what paint the picture of what this looks like.
So I feel like I'm a little, and I'm going to be totally wrong in saying this, but I feel like I'm a little late in life to learn how to sail. So I want a cruiser. I don't, and again, with the whole following of the rules and everything, I just don't feel like I could make it through sailing lessons, personally myself. I imagine anybody at any age could go and learn how to sail, but just me personally.
Forget the sail part of it.
Put some gas in it. Let me turn it on.
However, you're moving around. The sailing part is not that relevant.
So that's why I picked the Bahamas or the Caribbean, is because you can probably, like, you can leave Florida and get to the Bahamas pretty easily, and then you can hop around and get, fuel up and whatnot. But I would love to spend the rest of my life on a boat. And if I have to do it by myself, I will do it by myself. Hopefully one of these days. I wish all my kids, when they got out of high school or college or whatever, they would buy a boat and come meet me. That'd be fun. But if I had somebody on my boat, and I guess right now the boat is going to symbolize my life. I really don't want anybody on my boat if they can't, follow my rules, I guess. Not really my rules, but my biggest fear is confinement. I don't want to be confined. I want to spend the next 40 years of my life being able to do whatever I want to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be told that I can't do something. I don't want to be told that I have to do things a certain way. So I guess in the meantime, it'll just be me on my boat.
Sounds good. What's the best compliment you've ever received, or a great one that stands out in your memory?
Oh, I have this. This happened recently. I get a lot of compliments. People are always pretty nice to me in general. I'm not a mean person, so I've never heard anything mean. But so my best friend David
from Dallas.
David from Dallas. I hadn't talked to him in a while. And so I sent him a message and told him about what happened and, separating and all that. And so this is what he sent me back. And it just really, like, when I read it, I said, oh my gosh, it's amazing how someone who you don't really, like, physically interact with very often, but you understand each other and you get each other and, as best friends do, sent me this, and it just really got me. But it says, I've been thinking about your big announcement. You've always been so brave and independent. I've been trying to understand codependency, and it's complicated, but I'm thinking many people deal with it on some level. I'm pretty sure you don't. You have the ability to think and act on what is best for you and your future and not get stuck trying to fix someone else. It's complicated, but you seem to do better than most with it. Good job. And, just having someone recognize that on some level was, it's easy to say, oh, you're a good mom, or, oh, you're good at that. But just to really see something deep inside and let you know that, others see it too is really awesome. And I think everybody should do that if they have somebody in their lives. Just let them know, compliment their deep things.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Who, maybe the answer is David from Dallas, who would be a good guest on this podcast?
David is hilarious. Let's see. I guess David would be a good one. He's so smart. And he has 3 older boys, and has a hard time sometimes in his marriage, but he's always so committed and so he just loves his family and always wants to do the right thing. And I think he would be awesome to interview. That's why I talk to him every day, or almost. All
right, David, if you're listening, let's connect and make it happen. When your kids turn 40, how do you want them to finish the sentence? The most important thing my mom taught me was blank.
To work hard. That's another thing that my parents taught me, was to always work hard and to strive and to take care of your responsibilities. That's really hard. It's hard when my family was poor, and I do decently well for my kids, and I've given them way more than I ever had. And it's really hard to give them those things and then have them be unappreciative and to take it for granted. And so it makes it really hard to find that balance of how much giving them is too much. And so, we've started trying to help them work for things and, earn some money, appreciate the things they have. I think that is something that I hope, cross my fingers. If not, I will still love them and support them.
Well, that's nice. If you could work for any person in the world, who would it be, and what job would you want?
I cannot work for anyone. I'm sorry. I have a broker. And
Back to the confinement thing.
I have a broker, and she keeps me in the lines of my legal and ethical standings. She makes sure I stay in my lane that way. But
Cool.
other than
But
that,
that's it. That's where it ends.
that's it. I can't. Yeah, I can't do it. I mean, I would like. I mean, I have a lot of people that I look up to as mentors and people that I like to learn from. But I don't. I couldn't stay in those lanes.
If you were hosting this podcast, what is a question that you would want to ask other 40-year-olds?
Okay, so I guess I'm going through my what some would call a midlife crisis, a changing your life in the middle of your life. Not everyone can do that, but I imagine that everybody has those feelings of, holy cow, this is the middle of my life. And maybe some people don't. My dad said that he went through his life-changing moment when he was 25. But I feel like, I would like to talk to more people and find out, what are you doing to keep it all together? If you need to keep it together. I mean, some people really want to keep it together, but also battle that internal, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Have I done all the things? Mm-hmm. I really wanted, like you mentioned, you really wanted to make a list of things you did when you turned 40. I really wanted to make that list, and I guess I kind of am in a sense, but I'm putting the actual list on hold. Like, there's no like bucket list of things. I feel like the number one thing on my list probably right now is just repairing my identity and finding out again who I am, and then I'll add the fly helicopter or whatever after that. But so that's what interests me the most is how are you guys dealing with it? Those who are in great marriages, but still, battling your inner challenges. That would be the thing.
All right. We've reached the final question here, and
we made it.
Back to the soundtrack. What is the soundtrack of, I guess, this moment? Because I asked the guests to choose the song that plays at the end of the video, actually at the end of the audio, not in the video. So what song did you pick to take us out of here today?
I picked Eminem's "I'm Not Afraid." I don't normally on an everyday basis listen to Eminem, but I scrolled across somewhere on YouTube the other day and I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to that. I got kind of in the mood for some Eminem. And that song came on and I was like, holy cow, that is the soundtrack to my moment, that I'm going through. And so that's why I sent it to you. So I hope you found a radio version of it because it's got a lot of profanity.
No, we welcome profanity.
Okay, awesome.
We're not censoring anything here.
Good.
I did find the full profanity laced version, and that's what everyone will hear.
Awesome, and that's kind of, and I'm glad. Let's go for it because that is also, I just had a conversation today with a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in a long time, who I kind of sensed was also going through a separation, and the whole thing was no fucks to give right now. So let's not give any fucks.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, 40 questions down. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Ready to take on 40 years old on Tuesday?
I am. Let's do it. I'm ready. I colored my hair. The gray's gone. I was going to keep it, but let's do this.
Where and how are you celebrating on Tuesday?
We are going to the Jones Assembly, which is a new venue here in Oklahoma City. Everything else in that little area is under construction, but it's an awesome place. They do a lot of live music shows. They have a couple of great, really awesome patios, and the weather's supposed to be nice. So a bunch of us are going to go up there and tear it up.
Awesome. So everyone listening, you are invited to Laura's 40th birthday at the Jones Assembly in Oklahoma City. Bring big presents. That's all that we require.
Yes, 40 of them.
At least. Thank you for joining us today, Lora. This was fun.
Thanks, Chris.
Have a great day. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time on Past the 40.